listening to the Otasso Outdoors Podcast.
Do. All right.
So lame. I'm just glad I don't have to hit my button anymore to talk.
Technical difficulties.
It was a rough go at the beginning, boys.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Otasso Outdoors Podcast. I'm Caleb. I'm your host. And as always, we're coming at you live from the pod bunker. I've got my two co-hosts with me, Reed Robinson.
Howdy.
Hunter Grishke. Heyo. When you are tuning into the show, you're likely to hear one of three segments. Segment number one.
Segment number one is What You Got, Buddy? What You Got, Buddy is where we all go out and search articles unbeknownst to the other people. We do a deep dive into presenting them to everybody in the pod bunker, and then we go down every rabbit trail that those articles could possibly bring up. Segment number two.
Segment number two is our Spotlight series where we bring awesome guests on, interview them, learn all about them, what they love about the outdoors, and have a great time with them. Segment number three.
Segment number three is our head-to-head show. It's kind of our game show / trivia, where one person is the quiz master. They bring in pre-prepared questions, and the members of the pod bunker go head-to-head to crown a trivia champion. You guys clicked on it. You know what it is today. Today we have a What You Got, Buddy. So, nose goes.
I'll go first. Yeah. All right. I'm excited this week, boys. I'm excited.
Hunter, what you got, buddy?
Earlier you said there was one snippet in here that we're really going to like.
I think this is going to be good.
All right, hit us.
It's a little long, but we're going for it. Man admits he poached 218-inch 17-pointer.
Oh, is this the guy down in Wisconsin?
Wisconsin.
Oh,
yeah.
This is a big deal.
Yes. All right. A Wisconsin man agreed to a plea deal in which he cannot hunt or fish for 3 years after admitting he shot a giant 218-inch buck out of season in November of 2021. Douglas D. Myers, 60, of Coon Valley, agreed to deal following an investigation by the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. The investigation was sparked by a call into the agency's violation hotline, which is operational 24 hours a day. The call from an anonymous citizen reported hearing gunshots from Myers' property on November 4th, 2021. Conservation officers charged Myers with hunting deer during a closed season. They said he admitted to shooting a buck with a rifle during archery season and then claiming he shot it with a crossbow. The misdemeanor charged, The misdemeanor charge had a maximum fine of $2,000 and 6 months in jail. Okay, so this is where it gets spicy. During the initial November 10th, 2021 interview between Myers and the DNR officers, Myers said he stalked within 25 yards of the big buck and doe with his crossbow. He said he shot it 3 times with a crossbow, having to cock it each time. After further questioning, Myers admitted he shot the buck with his rifle behind his garage and then he stabbed it with a crossbow bolt in the bullet wounds. folks. Well, I'm gonna end it there. What do you guys think?
There's just 2 words that come to mind. It's dumb and ass. Like, you could have come up with a better story than that.
Oh yeah,
It's
that's the
pretty
dumb
bad,
part.
man.
Yeah,
That is just like he literally wrecked himself.
Like, how can you say you shot it 3 times?
While it was running. Well, did you have a speed loader?
the 3-shot thing doesn't really put me off too much. You know, depending on how he told the story, because, you know, it's not uncommon. Well, it's really not that uncommon to have to put a few shots in a deer with a bow. And if you told me, like, okay, depending on where he shot it, if you told me I shot it one time here and it dropped, and I had to put another bolt in it, and it still didn't die, so I put another bolt in it. Okay, I believe that. Like, a lot of us have had to put multiple arrows in a deer to kill him. That makes sense to me.
That's true.
But I'm guessing that the way he told the story, probably didn't line up.
Clearly did not line up.
There I was, sniping it at 115 yards with my Raven. Probably not.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering where the turning point was at. I'm wondering, like...
the moment that he was like, yeah, you're right.
Well, like how do you go from poaching or shooting a deer with a gun like that to then somehow fabricating a bad enough story? Like, I bet you anything he killed it, and then he went to have it professionally scored.
This deer was a monster.
I bet he went to have it professionally scored with Boone and Crockett, and then the DNR did an investigation or some sort. Because, like, with certain record book things, it alerts the DNR.
You're saying, like, how did they figure it out?
Yeah, or the neighbor ratted him out.
Yeah, neighbor called it in on anonymous hotline.
Okay. What's this guy's name?
Douglas, I think, or something like that.
Doug? Buddy?
Elmer Fudd.
No, Caleb, you're going to understand Doug here in a minute. Quadruple brow tine, split G2.
It's a monster.
Double split main beam. Like, not lobster claw main beam, like trident main beam. Double split G2 on the other side.
You're trying to justify this.
He's trying to justify
Dude,
it. That's what I'm getting out of it.
Okay. If you put me in the exact scenario, that is one of the coolest racks I've ever seen. If you put me in that exact scenario, there that buck is at 80 yards.
Okay.
And I have my rifle. No, I don't.
Whoa.
I know.
Oh,
No, I don't shoot it because
dude,
I'm a man of heavy conviction.
Okay.
Look at the mass on that buck.
But
I was going to say, I feel like there's a but, Reed.
behold the underlying truth.
Okay.
But I would be radically tempted to shoot that deer because that is like, first of all, a once in a lifetime deer. Second, the thought that kind of deer would make the thought cross my mind. Nobody has to know. I can just shoot this deer. I can get it mounted like later on down the road. No big deal.
But he thought that same thing.
I would have never been tempted.
And he tried to stab the wounds.
So it's the follow-up where you wouldn't be able to go around and like do the whole clout thing. Like, I shot this deer.
Well, that in itself looks fishy. Anybody who shoots a 215-inch or 218-inch deer and then just doesn't talk about it or show anybody, that's got poaching written all over it.
Very sketchy. Very sketchy.
Once again, I would not shoot at it, and I would not try to cover it up. I once too much conviction around that. I'm not in support of that. I'm just saying, like, I can see why, because that is one heck of a deer. And second point on that, his neighbors are dicks.
I think his neighbors are great.
No, gosh, no, dude. I'm all for. How many times are you out in bow season and like before hunting season starts, rifle season starts, you hear the neighbor out shooting, and you're like, "Son of a gun, why are you shooting?" What's your first thought? During a few days before gun opener, what's your first thought when you hear the neighbor shooting?
Sighting in their guns for rifle season.
Exactly.
Okay, but here's the thing. I'm gonna flip the table. Not the table. I'm gonna flip it to the other side. You tell me. I'm gonna paint you the picture. You're an ethical bow hunter.
Yep.
You've gotten multiple trail cam pictures of this 218-inch deer, and you know it's on the property, and you've been hunting it hard. And you're still hunting it hard when all of a sudden you hear pop, pop, pop. You hear 3 shots ring out, and then it goes through your mind of like, oh, he's sighting in his gun for gun season. The FUD is. And then all of a sudden, through hearsay, you find out that the same neighbor killed a 218-inch deer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, you're like, wait a second.
I don't think this guy's a FUD, though. Look at the deer on the wall in his pictures. The guy has, first of all, his house is it's immaculate. That's one sign to me of like, okay, this guy's ordered, he's structured, he keeps his life well maintained and together. When you look at the deer on the wall in the background, he's got, 150-inch deer sitting in the back.
So you're saying he had one lapse of judgment is what you're saying?
I think so. I think he saw a deer that was the biggest deer of his life and had a rack, and I think it was just lust.
He's got a 160 on the wall.
Yep. Typical.
He's got a mid 150s on the wall.
Typical.
I think he's in an area where there's some real nice deer. And
Well, clearly.
Dude, for this guy, I think it was a moment of lust and he gave in. And I do not condone that type of behavior when it comes to deer and ethical management. Utilize the seasons and pursue the game according to the rules.
Yep. Fair pursuit.
Fair pursuit. You got to give that deer its due diligence to be able to get away in its time.
Yep.
I bet you he was sitting in the living room or on his back deck and he saw it running through the field and he got out his rifle and shot it from the house.
I don't know how he did it.
It was chasing a doe, just bang.
I never
bang,
thought I'd sit
bang.
there and sympathize with a poacher because, like, no, I don't like poachers. But when I see that deer, I'm like, I can see why you do that. That's a beautiful deer. And you're getting close to deer season anyway. And you know it's going to die. Maybe it's the first time you've seen it daylight on, like, your property. And you have trail cams pictures of it for the past 3 years. I get it. I just don't think it's right. But I get it.
Why not go after it with a bow?
Dude, lust.
He tried to stab it with a bolt once it was dead.
Well,
Now,
yes, you have to cover up. I mean, at that point, I guarantee you, he might have blacked out, and then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're standing next to it, and he's like, "Oh no!"
Yeah. He's like, I actually killed it. Wow.
Yeah.
You talk about it from the lust standpoint. I don't know how you get from the point to seeing a deer, to loading your rifle, to aiming it at the deer, to shooting it 3 times. I don't know how you get to that point without your conscience convicting you in the slightest. I don't know.
I think he knew what he wanted to do with that deer. I just do.
That also really surprises me for a 60-year-old. You're old enough and wise enough at that age to
Those
where I
are
feel
also-
like you'd be convicted.
Those are also the guys that are old enough to know better. Like, not in the sense of, like, well, I know better not to do that, but I know better than you, and I'm going to do it anyways.
What also bothers me about this is that
I know you don't like that. It's
he
just how it
kind
is.
of got a slap on the wrist.
Oh, yes.
He
3
got
years?
3 years and a $2,000 fine.
That was my other point.
He shouldn't be able to hunt again.
That's my other point that makes me sympathize with him. If that's all it costs to shoot a 218-inch deer, sign me up.
No, he doesn't have that rack. That rack's confiscated.
Yeah.
That rack is
Yeah.
gone. So is the gun he killed it with. He's never going to see that deer again.
Definitely.
That's going to go on some DNR wildlife collection wall.
Yep.
I had a friend one time actually that he shot a buck down in Ohio, 150, 160-inch deer, beautiful deer. And he drug it down the hill from where he shot it and posed with pictures for it, and then went to tag it. And then while he's tagging it, a guy came up with his son, held him at gunpoint and said, "That's my deer."
Heard about this.
Yep. And he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he's like, "Nope, that's my deer. Give it to me." And he's like, "I don't mean anything." Like, the guy raises the gun at him and he's like, "Give me the deer. It's mine." And took it from him. Held him at gunpoint. And so they ended up finding the deer a couple counties over, arrested the guy, found out the story, I think they found my buddy's tag and relayed it back to him. And they came and got a testimony from him, and he gave him the whole story. And because he moved the deer before he tagged it, they took the rack, they took the buck, they took everything and put it into storage, or put it into the evidence locker. He didn't even get his deer, and he got held at gunpoint for it. And he had to go to court over it.
That right there shows the importance of putting a tag on your deer before anything. Before you take photos, before you grab the head and look at it, get your tag out right away.
Yep.
I still don't sympathize with him at all.
No, I still think
he had to go. He went through so many steps. He pretty much jumped over every conscience hurdle.
You're putting too many hurdles in place. Do you think he sat there and he's like, "Wow, there's that buck out there. Maybe I'll go get my rifle and look at it through the scope. Well, maybe I'll just load it." It's like, no, he probably had his rifle sitting right there. He sees a big deer out in the field, raises up on it. He's like, I'm already here, and that's one heck of a deer. I got buck fever like crazy.
But you're totally out of season.
Yeah, and lust will drive a man mad.
That's like going out in June, July, and looking at all the bachelor groups and being like, "Yeah, I like that one." Pull out your rifle and just, that's wrong.
Guys, let us know what your thoughts are on this one. Drop us a DM on Instagram. We'd love to hear your thoughts and your convictions.
I told you I'm convicted.
Team Reed or Team Caleb and Hunter?
Team reality or team abide by the rules all the time, holier than thou, holy
team
crap, you've never done anything wrong hunting.
Team poacher
Golly.
or team ethics?
I'm team ethics. I don't break hunting laws. I just understand the guy.
It just depends.
At 4 brow tines.
Nah, you'd probably
on one side.
You'd probably help him put the bolt through the bullet holes.
I mean, shoot, dang, dude. Whatever that guy needs a win for, he's probably down pat that day.
He is too, because now
talked to me in months.
Well, yeah, because the DNR's been all through their
60
house.
years old, stage 4 cancer. F it, kill the deer.
Because now he's not only down a 218-inch deer, he's down a rifle and probably marital issues.
Dude,
Probably.
you know what? If you're gonna come correct. Let's go. Caleb, what you got, buddy?
Good gravy. All right, gentlemen. Headline reads, well, once I can get to my bookmarks. Read what you got, buddy.
All right, fair enough. Alabama hunter bags.
Alabama.
Probably shot it in a holler.
Out of season.
Alabama hunter bags extremely rare dwarf piebald buck. Josh Crocker hunted the tiny buck on highly pressured public land for 3 seasons before notching his tag at the appropriate time in November. He's getting a full body mount, obviously.
Is this the one where he's like standing there holding it? Like he's pretty much like deadlifting it?
Yeah, pretty much. It weighed 90 pounds. It's a beautiful piebald deer, very much patchy through the neck and along the stomach and groin area. A couple little spots on the hind haunch. Little 8-point buck, and it probably, I mean, this guy looks decently tall. It's hard to gauge with like the size of this deer, but he looks like he's probably 6 foot tall. And this deer comes up to like mid-thigh.
Yes, I saw this.
Yeah, and little.
That's crazy.
So, first of all, we've talked a little bit about piebald buck here on the podcast before. Piebald buck, albino deer, and melanistic deer, all very cool. I didn't know deer could have dwarfism.
I didn't know that either.
And
I didn't know that either.
To have a dwarf piebald is like, holy cow. So,
did a Shetland pony breed with a doe?
a painted Shetland pony, apparently. Barely weighed 100 pounds, though fully grown at 4.5 years old with an 8-point rack. Crocker's bucks suffered from a rare form of dwarfism. I saw him for the first time while bow hunting about 3 years ago, Crocker tells Field and Stream. I just got a glimpse.
The guy with the last name Crocker would shoot a dwarf piebald deer.
I mean, he's wearing nomad camo, so let's see.
Joe Crocker.
He goes, I got a glimpse of it 3 years ago. Crocker says his spot in the Talladega is miles from any road and surrounded by steep mountains and terrain. There's only one way in and out of the property, and it's highly pressured, he says.
So is that northern Alabama then? If he's got mountains.
I don't know. I just like when like true Alabamans call it Alabama. I was down in Alabama.
Roll Tide.
Oh, tough game. Crocker knew the buck was special as first run-in being a piebald with a white coloration running through its otherwise brown coat, but he didn't immediately realize how much smaller it was than a typical North Alabama buck. I hunted him hard last year, but only managed to get trail cam photos of him. He recalls he had a nice 9-point rack in those photos, and that was when I noticed how short and stubby his legs were. He also had a real bad overbite. Crocker never saw or got photos of the small buck again until November 22nd, 2023. That's when he decided to hike as far back into the Talladega as he could and hunt all day. The rut was really going in that area around Thanksgiving, and I had a feeling it was going to be good, he says. At about 11 a.m., a buck came walking down the bluff right toward my stand. I saw the white chest from about 70 yards off and knew it was him.
I could just see the full body mount with just an overbite, like...
we
Wait, what's an overbite?
yeah, overbite would be like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we saw the picture of that deer up at Two Hats this year named Corn Scoop with the underbite.
Yeah.
And it's like licking his leg. So
We're going to hell.
Man, this little stubby legs, like just all the descriptions. They can have short, stubby legs, humpbacks, and underbites. It's just like these little midget deer, dude. It just makes me laugh. Now, obviously, if you saw it and it was piebald, you'd shoot it. Would you shoot just a straight like little midget deer for funsies?
Absolutely. I don't know. I don't know. I'd be so confused. I don't know if I could even bring myself to do it. I'm just like, what the frick? Is this a fawn with antler? No spots.
Well, the piebald will really throw you off. Like, maybe it doesn't. I don't know what's going on
I
here.
don't know if it's even worth putting a tag on.
Put it, cut your tag in half and just
Ask Heidi for a discount because it's only 50 pounds.
well, dressed out at 88.
Oh,
like no meat.
jeez.
He probably got 20 pounds of meat off the deer.
The only reason I'd ever shoot one is we could easily fit a full body mount dwarf deer down here.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
just
You can put it right up there.
Just on top of the mantle. Sorry,
You couldn't
Travis.
replace Travis.
No.
Tough. What's cool about this deer though is he has 3 years of, history with the deer. He saw it for the first time in 19 and he watched it or he saw it for the first time in 20 and then watched it.
Probably seeing if it was gonna grow.
Yeah, let him go. Let him grow, boy.
another year.
But I mean, this deer really does kind of break our whole mantra of like, let him grow and get bigger. I mean, shoot old, unique deer, right? We were talking about that with Tim Bootsma. He's like, I like to shoot mature, unique deer. I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've always been advocates for age.
Yeah,
just 'cause
Like
they're old.
especially lately, like don't shoot. Like you could have a 3.5-year-old that has a massive rack, and you could have a 5.5-year-old that has a mediocre rack. It's better to shoot the 5.5-year-old.
Amen.
Yep.
It's hard, but you got to do it.
And that's where we talked about, like, you got to do your research beforehand. Have your trail cam photos ready. That is like, if you're going to be like a hardcore deer manager, use trail cams. Just get yourself intel, know what's going on out there, and decide in your mind, if this deer walks out in front of me this season, am I shooting it or not ahead of time?
And if you think the barrier to entry is too much, just toss that out the window. You do not need to have cell cams.
Nope.
You can literally go on Amazon and get
$40.
or
Yeah.
less.
Yep.
In some cases, if you watch Amazon long enough, these Chinese companies will drop these trail cams like as a first release, and they're $22. You can buy 3 or 4 of them for $60 and get some SD cards, and they work great. I ran those for years out here, and it's awesome. The only inconvenience is you don't have real time photos. You just set the date, set the time, and it might be 2 or 3 days later that you actually find out he came through, but there's nothing wrong with that.
But you can still pattern deer off of that.
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely, 100%.
No question.
I mean, same thing. Like, people have hunted for years without trail cams. They've hunted for years without guns. They've hunted for years without crossbows. They've hunted for years without compound bows. It's just making the whole process better because of, if you want to just go out and kill deer, you can do that. It just isn't the best thing to do for the deer herd. If you want to go out and be a deer manager, use all the tools in your Batman tool belt, man. Get that thing strapped up, ready to go. You got your minerals out there. You got your trail cams out there. You got your Onyx maps all figured out where everything's laying.
50-pound bag of corn.
For the squirrels.
No minerals either.
No minerals?
Mm-mm.
Nothing.
Minerals are illegal in the state of Michigan.
Big X.
Well, don't do that.
So no minerals, no supplemental feed.
Take that
no
belt
baits.
off.
Take a few things
Take
off your
the belt
Batman
off.
belt. Go get your trail cameras.
Just a trail camera. That's it. Now, licking branch. We've kind of talked about this. Licking branch or scrapes, mock scrapes, vines, grapevines, and rope. Like a big heavy hemp rope,
Get them high.
They love it.
waist height.
Oh.
Wait. Oh.
Get the deer high, my friend. Not that kind of hemp, dude.
Yes, different kind of hemp. And on that bombshell.
What you got, buddy?
What you got?
Now I got to unlock my phone.
Again.
All right. Lawsuit filed against Michigan DNR. Whoa.
Oh.
To allow drone use in recovery of deer.
Okay.
Interesting. All right.
Muskegon, Michigan, an Ohio-based drone company is suing the Michigan DNR over its interpretation of a state law that officials claim prohibits drone use in recovering downed deer. Drone deer recovery, which we've talked about before, guys based out of Ohio. It's really sweet. Like, I'll pause the article for that. These drone deer recovery guys, pretty much what they do is they use these massive drones, whether they're like with high zoom or thermal, and they'll fly up and they'll actually thermal down and they'll find your deer, whether it's dead or alive. And they have enough zoom where they can zoom in so you can see the rack and figure out if it's actually your deer. Super, super crazy cool technology. I did read a little bit about this earlier. So anyway, Drone Deer Recovery filed a federal civil rights lawsuit over the state law enacted in 2015 that bans drone use in the taking of an animal. The same law bans drone use to harass hunters as well. Ultimately, this is the First Amendment free speech case. Andrew Quinoio, attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation, told Michigan Outdoor News. The Pacific Legal Foundation is representing drone deer recovery owner Mike Yoder, as well as Michigan hunter Jeremy Funk, who got the funk, who would like to use the company's services. Drone deer recovery started by lifelong hunter Mike Yoder in 2022. I wonder if he's related to Shad.
There's
Shad?
lots of Yoders.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Shad.
Especially from Ohio.
Drop
Yoders are plentiful.
Drop a line. Works with contractors in multiple states to provide deer recovery services with drones after an animal has been mortally wounded, with policies that require hunters to store the weapons during recovery. Two operators who wanted to contract with the company in Michigan approached the DNR earlier this year to inquire about this opportunity, and both were told the activity was prohibited. The defendant admits that it has advised persons who have inquired that under Michigan law, taking an animal includes the following in collecting an injured animal, and Michigan law prohibits the use of a drone to take an animal.
Who collects an injured animal?
The Michigan DNR officials declined to comment on the case. Classic. Drone deer recovery disseminates information. The location. Man, I'm really struggling to read tonight. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
I love the whole drone thing. I think it could be great. I agree in the sense that it should not be used like with your weapon alongside of it, because I feel like that's a little unfair.
I think they're less intrusive than dogs.
But I like the recovery part.
To be able to fly a drone up and be like, yep, there it is, drop a pin.
Yeah.
And then you go out and get
then
it.
You go after it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
or
I
you
think
can
like
spot and stalk it kind of thing. Yeah, not like, hey, you're 20 yards from it.
Yeah.
Just like, here's the general area, get in after it. That's way less intrusive than bringing a dog out.
Yeah. I like it.
It's pairing technology to continue the ethics of hunting. Like what we've talked about is, as hunters, our goal should be to make an ethical kill. Sometimes that doesn't work out that way, but we should do everything in our power to make sure that animal doesn't suffer.
Yep.
So if you think about most dog tracking situations, if you get somebody out there with a dog, it's usually the next day and you're still finding it alive, if not at all. That deer's body is going to hold on to a certain amount of heat for probably up to 48 hours of any kind of warmth that a thermal can pick up on. So I think the recovery rate is significantly higher with something like that. So if anything, the DNR should be geeked about it.
What do you think, Reed? I know you're thinking over there about something.
I'm stewing. The whole concept of excuse me, leaving your weapon behind. I understand why. I understand the premise of, well, we don't want you to go see a deer on drone footage and then go shoot it.
Well,
It wouldn't be leaving
no,
it
it's
behind.
not leaving it behind. They're saying that while that drone is in the air, you're not allowed to go after the animal.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
They're
the drone
saying
finds
you're
it.
all standing in the
Okay,
driveway.
yeah.
When he goes up, he finds the deer, zooms in, you identify it that it's your deer, and then he brings the drone back, and then you can go in
Yep.
because you know where it's at now. You
Yeah.
know where it's bedded or where it's laying and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So
No, that makes sense. So I am for, I'll say this, I'm for using drones to recover deer. Because if you're gonna wound a deer, if you're gonna shoot a deer, if you're gonna attempt to take its life and you wound it, I think you should make every effort possible to get that deer back. You know, exhaust every effort until, I mean, how many hours have we spent tracking deer before where we just get to the end of it and we're like, dude, it's not gonna happen tonight.
Yeah.
And whether you bump the deer a couple times or whether it goes on a property that you're just never going to be able to get access to and you ruin everything by going on there, you put a bad taste in the name of hunting for it. It's like, you have to weigh the costs. And if you can go in with something covert like that and just throw a drone up in the air, use thermals and go find it, be like, okay, I can confirm that it is laying dead right there. Or, hey, that is your deer. Yes, you can confirm it. It is in that area. Go get it. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
Absolutely ethical.
So the article continues here, and it says Michigan's drone statute defines take as to hunt with any weapon, dog, raptor, or any other wild or domestic animal trained for the purpose to kill, chase, follow, harass, harm, pursue, shoot, rob, trap, capture, or collect animals, or to attempt to engage in such an activity. The attorney notes, though, that many of the words in the definition are not defined anywhere else in the law, leaving the DNR to interpret the terms. And while the DNR does not apply follow or other terms to those who pursue photographs for elk, for example, it's possible they could. I'm not even sure the law prevents the use of drones, but the DNR has interpreted the law that it does. You're locating a carcass, not chasing live animals.
Okay, here's something that I heard the other day that this just triggered that. I have some mutual friends that own, well, how can I say this without incriminating anything? I have some buddies that I heard of one time that they brought a multimedia marketing company out to film them hunting waterfowl. And they were in layout blinds and shooting at geese. And they have drone footage of birds coming in and them shooting above. So it's like birds getting knocked down right above, like it's below the camera, but above them.
That'd be a big no-no.
And when I heard them say that, I was like, ooh, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. And they are utilizing this as marketing material for their service.
I feel like it's a gray area.
So I think it sounds like a marketing company came in and they don't know what they're doing. They don't know the law around that. Because when I heard it, I didn't say anything right off the bat, but I was like, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. Cool shot.
The drone could not be in the air.
It's a super cool angle to show killing birds at, but I'm like dead certain you couldn't do that. No.
Yeah, there's no.
Based on that law right there, no, you couldn't.
Well, you'd talk to all these guys who go out west and stuff. I mean, the laws are so strict. Even the media and like content creators that are out there, if you fly a drone, you're not allowed to hunt that day. They don't even let you hunt the same day that you fly. Like if you're going out to hunt grizzly bear or elk or whatever it may be, no matter the state, if you're landing in a bush,
in Alaska,
anything, you're not allowed to hunt the same day that you fly. Strictly for that reason.
I like that. I like
so
that.
all the shows you watch, whether it's Meat Eater, YouTube, anything that has drone shots, generally that drone shot is B-roll that's done way later.
But what's stopping somebody from, like, what's stopping a buddy saying, like, oh yeah, I was just out flying my drone, and by the way, I saw this over here. You might want to go take a look at it. And it's like, oh, okay. I just go over in this area and hunt.
Well, yeah, he's not actively. Yeah, that's where I'm saying there's a gray area. Like that media companies coming in and capturing content, they could come from a place of just like, hey, we were just flying our drone and just so happened to be.
But would you? Well, they're coming out to film content for a guide service thing.
Yeah, so they were contracted.
Yeah. I don't think the media company knew that could incriminate them, get them in trouble. And it's like, okay, if they knew
Are
that,
birds excluded?
That's what I was listening for that in the pod or in the article, and I didn't hear it.
It's any game, any pursuit of game.
So no,
I think they would definitely be included.
But the reality is now is like, okay, they have this content. It's cool. It looks really good. Are they going to get in trouble if they post it up on their page to say like, oh yeah, come shoot with us and we'll take you on the service. We'll guide with you. And it's like,
when have you ever seen that type of footage?
I have not.
Exactly.
Right. So that's what makes me wonder if
No, it's
when I heard him say it, I was like, whoa, okay.
Now it's one. Now here's on the flip side. If, say, for instance, there were no birds anywhere, and it's just a picture of it's a video of a drone zipping over top of them, and they're popping out of their blinds just for effect, or they're way up above and
B-roll.
stuff.
That'd
Different.
Be fine. B-roll.
B-roll.
Yeah, that's fine.
But when you actually have birds underneath the camera coming in on a set and getting smoked out of the sky from that angle, I'm pretty sure you just walked right into a misdemeanor.
Remote control decoys. Yeah.
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 But okay, so like think about this.
If you are a member of the DNR and you're listening, because I know we have a DNR agent assigned now after our whole cougar rampage. So if you wouldn't mind, just, drop a line.
Okay, here's my question.
Let
to
us
you,
know.
Mr. DNR officer that's watching. Hello. What if you, for bird hunters, a big part of bird hunting is scouting.
Eye contact.
What?
You're asking him a question.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so big. Hello.
Look at him, Reed.
Hi. A big part of bird hunting is scouting fields before you go out and hunt. Now, in other states, like Alaska, you go out, you cannot hunt the day that you fly, but you can hunt the next day. If I fly a drone over fields, like within a 4-mile area, and I can scout fields with that drone and go out and hunt those fields the next day, is that illegal? Can I scout my property with a drone and then go out hunt?
That's not Michigan law, because.
But that's what I'm wondering. Like, is there a time like, okay, I flew my drone and I just so happened to see a bunch of birds over there in that field. I'm gonna go hunt that field tomorrow.
Yeah, but that's where I said it's a gray area because you weren't actively scouting with it.
But if you were actively scouting, or like.
I feel like this could go a million different directions.
Yeah, like, okay, all the birds over in that field over there, and I just so happen to like want to play with my drone today, and I fly it right into the field and like jump them all out of that field, and they just so happen to land in my field. With birds, it gets really tricky. Like, I can understand sitting in your stand with a drone and flying around looking for deer, but when it comes to bird hunting, I just feel like it gets a little tricky.
Yeah. There could be so many loopholes you could.
Okay, so this was on the Michigan Sportsman Forum. Some guy posted and said, "Does anyone use a drone to scout?" He goes, "I am in no way referring to spotting and stalking, strictly scouting like location, bedding areas, trails, stuff like that." He goes, "There's no clear answer in Michigan laws about it. In Wisconsin, it's pretty gray. We can use them over private property, but 2 wardens I've asked about it over public lands both admitted they didn't really know the limitations of the law."
To which it's up to interpretation.
Right. So
Scary.
if you're that's the dangerous thing, because you might be interpreting it one way, and then who has the ultimate authority of how it's interpreted?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Our friend, Mr. DNR officer.
Yeah, well, but even like, Green Pants Jimmy would interpret it one way, and Green Pants Bob would interpret it another way. That happens all the time within the DNR. That happens all the time. That happens like, I think about Department of Transportation. You could call the Department of Transportation. I think about like all the big trailers that I tow. I could call them up at any given time and get a different answer every day. Calling in the same location, I get a different answer from different officers out on the road. So it's like same thing when it's up to interpretation like that. The laws are so vague that it's like, don't know.
Might be a sign that we
Don't
need to write the law a little better.
No. Yes. No.
Yes,
no more
no,
laws.
Yes.
No more laws. Vigilante hunting with drones, mounting shotguns to them,
Yeah, why not?
sniping birds.
Why not?
This is fascinating, just watching a bunch of people getting pissing matches on what should be and what shouldn't be.
Forums are the greatest place in the world.
They're hilarious, dude.
He's
It's
saying
like
this
Reddit,
guy,
but with a focus.
I mean, this
Keyboard
guy,
warriors.
this guy has a really good point. He's like, using one to scout would be no different than using one to just sightsee or film normal stuff. He goes, I see no difference, just looking at different sites in quotations. I mean, and that could be the argument you're making. Like, how are they going to be like, you're scouting?
Like,
No, I'm not. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm taking B-roll footage of my property.
Yeah.
For a real estate agent that I'm about, like stuff like that. I don't know. Let us know what your guys' thoughts. We've actually got 3 really great topics here that we'd love your guys' opinion on. So drop us a line. Let us know what your thoughts are on all of these things. Whether you side with Reed on supporting poachers,
Poach deer, kill midget deer, and mount shotguns to drones.
guys, that's all we got for you tonight. Thanks again for tuning in. As always, we grow organically, so any support that you guys could give us would be awesome. If you learn something, share the show with a friend, family member, somebody that could get value out of it. If you go to our website at atasooutfitters.com, that's where our merch shop is at, where we have hats, sweatshirts, hoodies, t-shirts, all the stuff that kind of keeps this bandwagon on the tracks. That can all be found in our link tree on our Instagram at ataso.outfitters. All these videos, too, are on YouTube. So if you enjoy watching podcasts in a video format, make sure to go over there and like and subscribe that to help grow. 'Cause people are really, really digging the video format rather than just audio. If you're just a 9-to-5er who likes listening on your commute, good on you. Watch the video. I forgot to play our outro. Anyway.
Unbelievable.
Wait for it. There it is.
I have to wait for the guy to be done doing his part. See you guys later.
I feel like I need to make it known that I don't poach deer. Like, genuinely.
It sounded like you really supported it, brother.
Now that
I just sympathize with him.
Green Pants Bob and Green Pants Jim are listening.
Well, think about it. You got one brow tine on the one side that you can grab onto it, and the other side you'd have to, like, hold it.
He's still justifying it.
He's trying.
You don't want to do that with a 218-inch deer? There's a lot of things I'd like to do with 218-inch deer.